Chivos here, back for another video. Today we are talking more A-League. That is correct. As you can see, I still have here our table pictures, but that defines what has happened in the A-League for our previous video. Now we look at our new scene here, and here it is, the fixtures for this weekend. That is correct. What else can I say? It is the time. Thursday the 8th of October, kick-off at 8 PM at Pertex Stadium is where it all begins. Western Sydney versus Brisbane Roar. Starting off at Pertex Stadium, kick-off at 8 PM on Thursday, which is, it's actually past right now to be honest, but it's 8 PM in Eastern Standard Time. We got daylight savings and everything, so the game's already happened. And I'll tell you what, my prediction for the game was a Brisbane Roar 1-0 win. I didn't think Western Sydney were going to score, but it was a surprise. I thought Brisbane Roar 1-0. The final result for that game was Brisbane Roar 3, Western Sydney Wanderers 1, and Brisbane Roar, the star man, Jamie McLaren, coming from Perth Glory, scored 2 goals. That's correct, 2 goals out of the 3 for Brisbane. Nichols scoring 1 for Western Sydney, and Brisbane Roar picking up the first 3 points of the season against Western Sydney. Not surprised about it. The second game is us Melbourne Victory playing against Adelaide United on Friday the 9th. Kick-off at 7:40 PM Eastern Daylight Time. That's alright. But 7:40 PM, bit of a late kick-off. I do think though Melbourne Victory are going to beat Adelaide. We just did beat them in the FFA Cup. We beat them 3-1. It's going to be a tough game. Adelaide United are a decent squad. They've got a few Spaniards in there who aren't too bad themselves, like Azias. But I do think it's going to be a Melbourne Victory win 2-1. The third game of the weekend is Central Coast Mariners at home to Perth Glory. And I know I said Central Coast to finish above Perth Glory on the table, but Central Coast Mariners don't play very good football. It sounds very bad to say. It's not pretty. It doesn't look good. And Perth Glory, I know they've had their financial struggles, but they're going to want to start off the new season with a bang. They're going to want to prove to everyone that they deserve to be in the top 3, top 4, even the top 6. They want to prove themselves, because after what happened last year, I don't think they deserve that. But who knows? I think Perth Glory are going to beat Central Coast. And I think it's going to be a tough result, but I think it's going to be 2-1. The fourth game of the weekend is Melbourne City playing away at Sydney FC at Allianz Stadium. A bit of a fortress there for Sydney, playing on Saturday the 10th of October at 7:30 PM. Not surprised, it's Saturday, the big fixture of the weekend. Can Sydney beat Melbourne? I don't know. Personally, I think Melbourne City have got a lot to prove. They've got a lot of money behind them. But I do think Melbourne City could potentially, I think Melbourne City could get the win, but I do think Sydney have something to prove. They want to prove that they didn't deserve to lose last year against Melbourne. So I think it's going to be a tough result. Melbourne City going to score. Sydney FC going to score. I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. And my final prediction for the weekend is obviously Wellington versus Newcastle Jets. Obviously Newcastle going through the struggle of a rebuilding phase. Wellington have lost a few of their key players, but I do think it's going to come down to the problems off the pitch rather than the problems on the pitch for this fixture. I think Newcastle are worrying way too much about what's going on with the club, trying to figure out how the club's going to work now, because I think they are really, really struggling at Newcastle. I don't know what's going to happen there. There was news of them folding, but apparently they're being bought out, so anything could happen with Newcastle, and I think the problems off the pitch are going to affect them too much. Wellington do have some problems themselves, and they have 1 year left on their current A-League licensing. They do need to figure that out, because all the other A-League clubs have signed on for another 20 years. Wellington only have 1 year left, and the FFA is trying to decide that. So a lot of problems off the pitch for these two clubs, but I do think Wellington are going to get a win. I think it's going to be a 1-0. And that's my predictions for this weekend. Obviously, Western Sydney, unfortunately for them, did cop the wrath of Jamie McLaren, John Aloisi and Brisbane Roar. But by the end of the weekend, I think Brisbane, Melbourne Victory, Perth Glory and Wellington all going to be on the 3 points with with City and Sydney going to be on 1 point apiece. But, who knows? We will find out after the weekend's fixtures have been played. We can only wait and see what happens. But my name has been Chivos. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. And I'll catch you guys on another football video.